Greetings, beloved light warriors. It's Saratoga, and this is our weekly focus card reading for the week beginning October 18th through October 24th, 2021. And if you're new to my channel, I do this every Sunday so we can reset our focus and our energy for the coming week ahead. And then I do my on-camera videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Okay, let us get into this week's reading. So as you can see, we have 3 cards. Sometimes we only have 1, sometimes we have 2, but this week we have 3. And I laid these cards out in the order that I pulled them in, and I think this is a very interesting sequence. So let's take a look at each card individually. The first card says, all tied up. And the second card says, storm warning. And then the third card says, adjacent possibilities. So let's see, we might pass through this sequence several times with from a slightly different angle. When I first pulled these cards, the first thing that struck me when I saw all tied up is this clearly indicates what the controllers have done to us on this planet. They have locked us down, tied us up, masked us up. You know, you guys all know the story. I don't have to explain it to you, I'm sure. And, you know, in other words, repressed and taken away our freedom, right? And you can see the woman in this card has no freedom to move at all. She's completely tied up. Her hands are handcuffed. She is basically trapped. So then the second card, storm warning, if we were to put it in the same context, says to me that there's more trouble ahead. These guys that are running this terrible show on this planet have more stuff in mind for us. In other words, they're not planning to make anything better for us at this point. And it's interesting because you can see the broken down buildings, or the pillars at the bottom sort of look like an old civilization that's being destroyed, which is exactly what they're doing, right? And then we go to the third card, adjacent possibilities, which is a very powerful message. Is telling us, look, there are all kinds of possibilities that you are not seeing from your previous point of view. And you can see in this image we have doorways and windows in very unexpected places, not where you would expect them to be. So I think the message is saying you need to look in places you didn't think of looking before when you're looking for solutions. So I want to come back to the first card for a moment, all tied up. Because in order for us to see those adjacent possibilities, to see other possibilities that we didn't perhaps missed in terms of how we're going to get through this storm, we have to deprogram ourselves from our old way of looking at our lives. So all tied up could also represent being all tied up in old ways of thinking, old belief systems. You know, this has been a very treacherous 2 years that we have been through, because so much of the way in which we perceived our reality, and the way in which we made decisions, the way in which we set goals, the way in which we set a vision for our lives, so much of that was based upon a civilization that we thought was intact and was always going to be here. So you have to understand, like, we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, this is where we have to be kind to ourselves and have self-love and compassion, okay, for ourselves. Because when we have this storm blow through our civilization, like what has happened in the last 2 years and is continuing, it hasn't stopped. It's only gotten momentum to a certain degree. It happens so fast, it happens so unexpectedly, that our minds, our brains have to adjust, because on the one hand, on a physical level, we can see what's happening. It's very clear to everyone, I think, who's looking, what is going on. But yet we still have paradigms in our mind. We still have belief systems. We still have old ways of looking at things that matched the old civilization that is being torn down. So that can cause a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of I don't know what to do. You know, how do I cope? Those kinds of feelings, right? So I think the message here is we need to account for that in ourselves, because see, if we don't, what's going to happen is we could end up getting very feeling kind of lost, like, the events outside of us that appear to be out of our control, for the most part, in terms of who's running this planet, it's completely unpredictable, and you can end up feeling like, man, I just don't know what to do, because nothing that I believed in before, nothing that I thought I knew before applies in this crazy situation. So you can end up feeling very lost, and even more lost as things unfold further and this storm increases. So I think what the message is take some time, be kind to yourself, be loving, be compassionate, and do some inner work to untangle your mind and your thinking from whatever old ways you used to look at life that were a match to the formerly stable civilization that we were all a part of. We need to release those old beliefs so that we can then see what in the last card is showing us, adjacent possibilities. I think the last card is very, very positive. I mean, the middle card can look kind of ominous, right? But let me point something else out about this middle card, about a storm. A storm can also indicate transformation, powerful transformation. I mean, I could have put some Moldavite with that card, but I didn't feel inclined to do so because I thought it might be a little bit too intense. But transformation of self in the terms of an evolutionary journey, and sometimes transformation can be very tumultuous. So we want to allow these circumstances. Now, I'm not trying to say these circumstances are positive, what's going on this planet, because this is not positive, and I'm not going to pretend it is. However, we can approach these circumstances in a way that we allow ourselves to be transformed by that storm energy. Because a storm is very transformational. A storm is very clearing. And interestingly enough, we also have a full moon in Aries on Wednesday, October 20th. Full moons are awesome for clearing. So right in the middle of the week, we have this wonderful opportunity, that full moon, that energy to support us clearing out those old patterns. So if you look at the circumstance, if you look at the storm, it's like there's a storm happening on this planet right now. It's just insane. So what we want to do is come to terms with that and say, okay, let's allow this storm energy to be transformational for us. In other words, we want to allow ourselves to come to terms with what is actually happening, to be conscious enough and present enough to pay attention to how we're thinking, how we're looking at things. And this first card, you'll notice this woman has this very odd looking hat on. I have no idea what that is, but it draws your attention to her head. It could be that, I don't know, if you all have any interpretations of that hat, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to know what you guys think. But to me, it's kind of like there's this big hat on her head, and maybe it indicates a bunch of thoughts that she needs to get rid of, all this stuff she's holding on to in her head, right? So that's something we want to pay close attention to. What are the paradigms? What are the filters? What are the old beliefs that we're perceiving life through? In other words, all of that stuff is like a filter. And when we're trying to look at this storm through those filters, it's not going to match up. Nothing's going to match up. And you can end up really, really confused. And as I said before, very, very anxious as well. So I think I would say, to me, that funny hat on her head is indicating, pay attention to what is in your mind. Pay attention to how you're seeing things. Because now we have to allow this storm, instead of being destructive to us, we have to allow it to be transforming for us. We have to free up our minds from the old beliefs, old paradigms, old perceptions. Let the storm loosen that stuff up and let it go. So then you're actually dealing with reality as it is now. Doesn't mean it's a good reality, but at least you're dealing with reality as it is now, and then your mind is free. See, when you can release that old stuff, those old perceptions and beliefs, what happens is your mind starts to radiate outwards. You become more conscious, you become more present, and you become a lot more intelligent. So then What does this all lead to? It leads to what the third card is showing us: adjacent possibilities, other possibilities that are in unexpected places. Now, here's another way to look at this whole sequence here. Let's say you just kept seeing life the same way you always have. You're not going to change it. It's just going to stay stuck in that perception, stuck in those beliefs, stuck in those filters. You could be in this, let's say you imagine yourself in the hall that's depicted in that third card. You're not going to see any of those doors, any of those windows. You're not going to see any of them. You're just going to see, like, I don't know what's at the end of that hall. It looks like something that's kind of fading away. Maybe that, I guess if we look at the end of that hallway, we could say, well, that's where the old door was, the door that we would have expected to be there. But now it looks like it's fading away. Or maybe it's a painted door on the wall. It's not even a real door, right? So that's all we would see, because that's all we're able to see, because these filters that live in our minds, these old beliefs and perceptions, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of close you off from being able to see anything outside of them, because they are literally filters of perception. So filters of perception that belong in the past, that belong to an old civilization that no longer exists on this planet, that is in a period of this massive storm, as in the second card, that's taking down that civilization. Those filters are going to cause you to come up empty. They're going to cause you to come up empty. I don't know what to do. I feel lost. I don't know how to cope with this. Things like that, right? You get those filters out of your head. You release those patterns. You understand and accept that things have changed. Now you're untying yourself. You're untying yourself from that trap of old beliefs and old perceptions. Now all of a sudden you can be in that hallway that's depicted in the third card and say, oh, look, I didn't see that before. Oh, there's another possibility over there that I would have completely missed. Oh, look, there's a possible miracle that's coming my way. So other things are going to open up to you. So let's put all of this together. And I think what it's saying overall is, yes, you're tied down not only physically by the controllers, but you're also tied down by your own patterns. You know, we're all in this situation together, right? And then there's more coming. Because storm warning means the storm isn't here yet, right? It means it's coming. But you can see those pillars are already broken down. So there's like, it's like we're in the middle of a storm, and the tornado is an intensification of that storm energy coming toward us. So I think we can expect an intensification of everything going on, which would not be the least bit surprising, right? So what we need to do right now is we need to make some big transformational shifts inside of ourselves. This is how we unlock our power. This is how we unlock our ability to respond appropriately. This is how we basically empower ourselves to be able to see alternative solutions, alternative paths, and what it is that we need to do next that is in our own best interest. And I think the final card is showing us that don't think that what these new ideas that can come to you are going to come in expected ways. They're probably going to come to you in unexpected ways, or opportunities might come to you in unexpected ways. So it's really about an expansion of consciousness, transformation, release of old patterns and beliefs, preparation for an intensification of the storm itself. And we can do this, you all. This is not an impossible feat. The beauty of who we are as human beings is that we are incredibly flexible. We are incredibly intelligent, okay? We really are. We underestimate our level of intelligence dramatically because we've been programmed to do so, right? So you don't want to do that anymore. We're extremely intelligent by nature. It's who we are as creators. So we can untie ourselves from all of this programming, all of these false beliefs, all of this junk, and then we can be transformed into the cosmic beings that we are, so that we know how to respond appropriately. And all these other doorways and pathways and opportunities And solutions can then begin to open up to us in a way that we will actually be able to see them, recognize them, and take full advantage of them. So overall, I would say that the sequence of cards is extremely hopeful. It's realistic, but it's also very, very hopeful. It's very clear. It's just the message is coming to us. It's like, this is what you guys need to do. You can do this. These opportunities are there. Look at the last card. They're all there. They're just in unexpected places. It's not what you knew from the past. It's something new. It's something that you have an opportunity to see in ways you never saw your life before. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty powerful, pretty powerful sequence there. And I'm sure there's just so much more we could glean from this. So if anybody wants to share any more about what you see here, please feel free. I always love to know how you guys interpret these cards. That's a really great way to expand on this reading. So yeah, you can feel free to leave any interpretations you might have in the comments below. And yeah, I think that's it for this week. And wishing you all a very wonderful, very fruitful, and very enlightening week ahead. Let that full moon help you to clear out whatever's in the way of you being able to see those many opportunities that are always available, that will become available. And yeah, let's just step into our power and become stronger and wiser and more clear than ever before. All right, so have a wonderful week, everyone. I'm sending you so much love. Take good care of yourselves. Namaste.